It started like any other Saturday morning, quiet, still, with the smell of freshly brewed coffee drifting from my kitchen into the hallway. I had plans. Nothing fancy, just a bit of organizing in the garage and maybe a drive to the hardware store. But I never imagined that simply lifting my own garage door would set off a chain of events involving screaming, police, and an HOA president who seemed determined to make my life miserable. When I stepped outside, the air was crisp, sunlight casting sharp shadows across the driveway. I pressed the garage door remote, and the familiar whirring sound filled the morning. The heavy metal door rolled upward, revealing my car, sitting exactly where it had been for weeks. I barely had time to set my coffee cup down before I heard it, a sharp, indignant voice from across the street. "What do you think you're doing?" It was Karen. Not just any Karen. The Karen. Our HOA president, self-appointed neighborhood watchdog, and self-proclaimed protector of property values. She was marching across the street like she owned the pavement, phone already in her hand, face twisted into a mask of outrage. I froze for a second, half wondering if she was joking. She wasn't. "That's my car!" she barked, jabbing a finger toward my driveway. "You stole it, didn't you?" I blinked at her, utterly confused. "What are you talking about? This is my garage, my car," she scoffed, waving her phone dramatically. "Don't play dumb with me. I just bought that model last week. Exact same color, exact same wheels. You probably snuck into the dealership or, who knows, hotwired it while it was parked." I tried to explain, calmly at first, that I'd owned my car for 3 years. I even offered to pull up the title on my phone, but she wasn't listening. Instead, she spun around, eyes blazing with performative rage, and pressed 3 numbers into her phone. 911, she said loudly, making sure the neighbors could hear. "Yes, I'd like to report a theft in progress. The suspect is in possession of my vehicle. Yes, I'm looking at it right now. It's parked in his garage. Hurry!" Within minutes, I saw the flicker of red and blue lights reflecting off my front windows. My stomach dropped. This was about to get ridiculous, and fast. 2 police cruisers pulled up, officers stepping out with cautious expressions. Karen immediately rushed to them, pointing at me like she just caught a notorious fugitive. "That's him. That's the thief. Arrest him." One of the officers, a tall man with a calm demeanor, held up his hand. "Ma'am, slow down. We need details." Karen rattled off her story with the energy of someone auditioning for a crime drama. How she'd ordered a brand new car, how it had been stolen before delivery, and how she'd heroically spotted it in my garage. She left out the part where she had no proof, no VIN, and no idea what she was talking about. When it was my turn, I stayed calm. I handed the officer my registration, title, and insurance, all matching my name and address. "This car has been mine since 2021, I said. "You can check the VIN right now." The officers exchanged a look. One of them walked over to my car, crouched to read the VIN, and radioed it in. Karen stood there with her arms crossed, smirking like she knew something I didn't. When the confirmation came back, the officer's voice was almost apologetic. "Ma'am, this vehicle belongs to him. It's registered, insured, and there are no theft reports." Karen's face flushed crimson. "That's impossible. It's the same car I ordered." The other officer sighed. "Ma'am, lots of cars look alike. That doesn't make them yours." But she wasn't done. "You're all in on it, aren't you? This is a cover-up." She turned back to the gathering crowd of neighbors, her voice rising. "This neighborhood is going downhill, and it's because people like him don't follow the rules." That's when I realized, this wasn't about the car. This was about control. Karen had been itching for a reason to confront me ever since I refused to attend one of her HOA, mandatory, lawn maintenance meetings. She hated that I didn't bow to her petty power. The officers, to their credit, kept things professional. They warned her about making false reports, explaining that calling 911 over baseless accusations could lead to charges. Karen muttered something under her breath and stormed off, heels clicking against the pavement like angry punctuation marks. I thought it was over. It wasn't. The next morning, I woke to find a bright orange HOA violation notice taped to my door. According to Karen, my garage was visibly cluttered and detracting from neighborhood aesthetics. The notice gave me 48 hours to remedy the situation or face fines. I took pictures, every corner, every shelf. My garage wasn't messy. It was organized, tools neatly hung on the wall, storage bins stacked in order. This wasn't about clutter. This was harassment. I sent the HOA a formal written response, attaching photos and pointing out that the HOA bylaws didn't even give them jurisdiction over the inside of a closed garage. Days passed with no reply, until I got another notice, this time claiming I had unauthorized modifications to my property. Apparently, the new shelves I'd installed inside my garage violated aesthetic harmony. It was absurd. I knew I had to fight back. I started attending HOA meetings, not because I wanted to, but because I needed witnesses. At the first one, Karen tried to call security on me for disruptive behavior, when I asked her to explain the supposed rule about garage shelving. The other board members shifted uncomfortably, clearly aware she was overstepping. By the third meeting, I'd gathered enough evidence to make my case. Emails from neighbors who'd been targeted for trivial things, copies of bylaws Karen had twisted to fit her personal grudges, and photos of her own violations, like the unapproved shed in her backyard. When it was my turn to speak, I laid it all out, one piece at a time. The room was silent except for the rustle of papers. "This isn't about neighborhood standards," I said, looking directly at Karen. "It's about you using your position to bully and intimidate. You called the police on me for opening my own garage. You've issued baseless violations. And you've wasted HOA resources on personal vendettas." Karen's face was pale now, her usual smirk gone. The other board members whispered to each other, then the vice president cleared his throat. "We'll be reviewing your conduct as president, Karen." Within a month, she was voted out. The new president sent me a letter apologizing for the harassment and rescinding every bogus violation. The best part? A few weeks later, I opened my garage again, in full view of the street. My neighbors waved. Karen, now just another resident, walked by without saying a word. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't yelling back, it's letting the truth play out where everyone can see it. And as for my car? It's still parked right where it belongs, inside my garage.